Titanfall 2, to me, was a darn near perfect FPS game. In fact, I would go so far as to say that it is easily my favorite FPS game of the last 5 years. You all, the regular viewers here on the channel, seem to agree, because anytime we cover or talk about Titanfall 2, it seems to be met consistently with overwhelmingly positive feedback. There was something quite special about Titanfall 2. And even though the game released 2.5 years ago, I think it's important to remember why the game did so well and what was so appreciated about it. Now, my opinions, it won't cover everything, they're just my thoughts, and those can be pretty scattered at times. So if I missed something that you thought should have been included, don't hesitate to drop a comment sharing it with others. Now let's dive in. To start, the game was a complete package from day one. I think this is something that is really overlooked in a scene dominated by releases that evolve over time. Don't get me wrong, I love that in our current gaming paradigm, we can see games go through radical transformations over their lifespan, breathing a second chance into games that may have missed the mark on day one. But you know, there's something really gratifying when you boot up a game on launch and feel thoroughly satisfied at the amount of content there immediately. Not in 6 months, not in 18 months, but immediately from the start. It's just like your purchase had weight, it had value. Titanfall 2 came with a great campaign, robust multiplayer, and a promise of post-launch free DLC, all known about from the very start. I've talked at length about the Titanfall 2 campaign on this channel. It nailed what players were hoping to see in the Titanfall universe. If you never played the original Titanfall, then you wouldn't have likely known that it didn't really feature a traditional campaign, but rather short vignettes at the start and end of each multiplayer match that would give you a small glimpse at the lore behind the world of Titanfall.
Sir, jump calculations haven't finished yet. We might not give a damn. Just do it. Jump now. Now, damn it, now. Jumping in 3, 2, 1, go. We made it. Nice work, Wilson. We're in. Hang on. Mayday, this is Misfit 2. We're going down. I repeat, we're going down.
This is McAllen. Hang on. I'm on my way.
We're getting off this hill. Come with me.
It wasn't executed super well, but I think a lot of old school Titanfall fans, and shout out in the comments if you are one, kind of enjoyed this unique style of things, okay? Now, those short vignettes left players desperately wanting more, and the feedback was almost universal from the player base to Respawn that they wanted a full campaign in this world. Respawn fired back in Titanfall 2 with a short yet very polished and fun campaign. Every mission had a unique feel and a design element associated with each mission that avoided any sort of repetitive nature. It reminds me a lot of the older FPS campaigns like Half-Life, where every chapter really focused on a different gameplay mechanic, and it always kept the players on their toes. You would have to learn the most effective way to use this new item, ability, or piece of gear on the fly. The only real downside of Titanfall 2's campaign would be its relatively short length. Most players wish it could have been twice as long, including myself. But what I will say is that I always prefer quality over quantity when it comes to an FPS campaign. So if Titanfall 2, if double the length meant half the quality, nah, I like the way it turned out then. Let's transition over to the multiplayer, the real meat and potatoes of the replayability held within Titanfall 2. Not only did players see major improvements to the gunplay, movement, Titan mechanics, map designs, and more, but players got to experience the entire package devoid of loot boxes, which at the time of release, that was the hot ticket item in the scene. The paid DLC was all cosmetic based, and players could purchase the exact camos they wanted without relying on pulling the digital slot machine lever that was so prevalent in its competitor games. The multiplayer at its core is just fun. The base movement tech has such an insanely high skill ceiling that really, the sky is the limit, no pun intended, when it came to the degree of highly skilled plays that you could see occurring. Over the years, I found that FPS titles that allow their players a ton of freedom and depth in the movement tech generally have a longer lifespan for the players, as there are more options for each unique player to express themselves creatively from within the match. The slide hopping tech has led to some absolutely unbelievably cool plays to watch over the years, and it's also like a mini game within each match if you're having to balance this weird movement tech into your gameplay. And then you have the Titans, which further augment the experience of each multiplayer match, making it feel like you're getting to juggle 2 or 3 different types of games all within one match. Really, I think at its core, that is what the Titan gameplay emphasizes. a need to diversify the gameplay loop without interrupting the flow of the basic ground-to-ground combat. The Titans add diversity to each match without ever really disrupting the flow of the ground-to-ground conflict. Rather, it's like augmenting or evolving as the match goes on. The developers found a way to implement a totally different skew of mechanics without it dissolving the base gameplay loop. You kind of get what I mean? That's a question I think most studios in the FPS space are trying to answer right now. How can they innovate the gameplay loop without it becoming disruptive or unrepresentative of the original intents? Over the last few years, I keep looking back really fondly at Titanfall 2, and I've been super excited to see that the popularity of Apex Legends has actually breathed a bit more life into Titanfall 2. Without a doubt, it still remains a game that I can confidently recommend to almost any FPS player out there without giving it a second thought. And that, it's hard to do in 2019 with a lot of modern FPS games. A lot of times you're like, well, what kind of player are you? Or what are you interested in? Oh, I don't know if you'll like that kind of a thing. Titanfall 2 is like that really good book that you buy a copy to give to your friend because you're like, you've got to read this, or you've got to see this movie, or heck, in the case of Titanfall, you need to drop your Titan on this map and actually play through this campaign, my dude. So those are the main things that stood out to me. I, of course, didn't talk about the free DLC coverage that came the months following Titanfall 2, bringing with it lots of new maps, a few new game modes, including the pretty fun Horde mode and the Monarch Titan, but that can be something we talk about in another video. Did I miss your favorite part of what made Titanfall 2 so good? So let me know about it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the little alarm bell, as subscription boxes haven't been working too well the last few months. Follow me over on Twitter @BBKDragoon. I'd love to chat with you guys over there. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll talk to you again next time.